What's going on, guys? It's Luke here. Today we're going to be running through how I'm going to be approaching the week and how I'm viewing the week of January 5th to the 9th, 2026. This is the first full week going into the new year, so should be a good week. We're going to go over the levels I have marked out on my charts, basically just an overall higher time frame view. I'll run through ES really quick, and then we'll go through how I'm approaching every single day based on the news. If anything changes with the news, I always update in the Discord or on TikTok, so those links will be in the pinned comment. If you guys need an account going into the new year, I have the discount link with Alpha Futures. Code LukeX will get you the best discount available. Everything's linked in the pinned comment. So we're going to start off in the higher time frame and then work our way down. Obviously, our monthly close, we had a bearish close on the monthly for the month of December, but our overall monthly is still maintaining bullish order flow. Going down to the weekly, we actually put in a lower high and we actually have a bearish SMT off of those highs. So as you can see, NQ failed to take out that high right there. And if you see ES took out that high. So we do have a bearish SMT on the weekly. The weekly has been kind of ranging overall, but again, we did put in a lower high, so that's just kind of making me lean a bit more bearish. I'm not going to be super bearish until we get kind of like a break of structure to the downside over here, but short term I am leaning more bearish because of that SMT and that like kind of lower high that got put in. So for draws and liquidity right here, what I have marked out basically right now, I have marked out this weekly high right here, I have this weekly high right here, I have previous week's high, and then previous week's low, and then we have this weekly low all the way down here. And then we're going to go over to the daily. Now, on the daily, we had obviously this extended push up, and now we got a correction down, and we actually just got a slight inversion of this daily bullish fair value gap right here. We just closed below it. So this area right here, this fair value gap is going to be an area that I'm watching heavily to see how we react off of it. So this is what I have marked out on my charts right now. We did get a nice retracement back. We could break back into the range and continue back to the upside, but we're going to have to see. I'm leaning more bearish, but we're going to run through ES. I'll show you guys what I have marked out on my ES charts. Very similar. Again, pretty much very similar stuff on the higher time frame. Again, on ES, we took out that high. NQ never did, so we do have that bearish SMT. I have this weekly low marked out, the weekly high, previous week's low. And then the thing with ES was ES actually held this daily bullish FVG. So a little bit interesting. And we might get a move to the upside. It's tough to say, but when NQ or ES, when one of them holds a gap and the other one slightly inverses, usually they do end up breaking back to the upside. A lot of the times I've noticed, but we'll have to see going into the week. So these are kind of the scenarios I'm looking for. So right now, obviously, our main sell side draw on liquidity is going to be this previous week's low right here. And our major buy side draw on liquidity is going to be the previous week's high as of right now. So since we did have this slight inversion of this daily fair value gap right here, what I want to see is how price is going to respond after that. So as you can see, we have a 4-hour gap resting within that inversion. And this is something that I'd have marked out because I feel like this will give some good guidance going into the start of the week. So I really want to see price come back into this gap, this 4-hour gap or this inversion. And I want to see how it reacts off of it. So since we did get this slight inversion of this daily fair value gap and ES never did, we could honestly see a scenario where we come up, we break back to the upside and we just continue back to put in new highs, right? That could be scenario number one. We get a push back in, we inverse that 4-hour gap, which I just had marked out right there, and we just continue back to the upside, and then we kind of, see price attack previous week's high and that weekly high, and then we kind of reassess from there. Scenario number two, price comes back into this, gap. We get a rotation down, take out the previous week's low, and then either from there, we either can seek reversals off the previous week's low, or, we see that move in, and then we trade lower down to the weekly low. Those are pretty much the only scenarios that I'm looking at this week, and I'm really going to be using this daily inversion and this 4-hour gap really as guidance going into the start of the week. I am leaning a bit more bearish just because of that SMT, but we already did get the move down. We kind of retraced back in, like, if we look on the fib, I don't have my regular fib settings on, but as you can see, we did have a nice reaction off of that 618 level. So for me personally, I really just want to see what happens off of this 4 hour gap, this daily inversion. Scenario number one, we get a move back in, aggressive move back in, we get confirmation, and then we continue higher. We attack probably the previous week's high, this weekly high, and then we kind of go from there. Scenario number two, we get a push back in, we rotate down and take out previous week's low, and then maybe from there we can seek those reversals back to the upside. Scenario number three, we poke back in and we just continue lower past previous week's low if we displace below previous week's low. So those are pretty much the scenarios I'm looking at. Again, I'm somewhat leaning a bit more bearish, but I don't have like a strict bias going in. I'm just kind of waiting for guidance, seeing how we respect and going from there. But make sure you guys know that we do have this SMT off of those highs, and technically we already got the sell off from it, but we could continue lower. Overall on the daily, if you really zoom out, we really are just kind of chopping and ranging. We haven't been trending strictly for a while since just for a while, right? So yeah, those are my scenarios that I'm looking at, and then we'll go over the news really quick. I'll tell you guys what I'm approaching basically and how I'm approaching the day every single day this week coming up. So starting off on Monday, we have 10 a.m. red folder news. We have ISM manufacturing PMI. Now, the way I approach 10 a.m. news is I try to look for something closer to market open. And if I don't see any setups by about like 9:50, 9:55, then I wait for news to play out and I go from there and I trade after the news. So that's what I'm going to be doing on Monday. Trying to trade something closer to market open, and if we don't catch anything by about 9:50, 9:55, I'll wait for the news to play out, and then we'll trade from there. But Monday will be a full normal trading day, back to normal. Tuesday, we have no news. This will be a normal trading day at market open. Wednesday, we have ADP non-farm employment change at 8:15, but at 10 a.m., we have ISM services PMI and JOLTS job openings. So again, we're going to be following that kind of 10 a.m. Like protocol. So market open, if we don't see anything by about 9:50, 9:55, we'll wait for the news to play out and then we'll go from there. But yeah, Wednesday, again, normal trading day. Thursday, we just have unemployment claims at 8:30, so this will be a normal trading day at market open. We'll be ready to go, and hopefully we get some good, data wicks to trade with. And now Friday, we have NFP 8:30, and then 10 a.m. we have consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. Again, same exact thing. Hopefully we get something closer to market open that we could trade towards those unemployment rate, NFP wicks. But if, again, we don't get anything, right before 10, we'll wait for 10, we'll wait for news to play out, and then we'll reassess from there. So should be a pretty good week. We got pretty much a full trading week every single day, Monday to Friday. Again, this is what I'm looking at, seeing how we react off that gap, that inversion, see if you want to break back in or continue lower. Sell side draw, main one is going to be our previous week's low. Main buy side draw right now is going to be our previous week's high. So we'll see what happens, and we'll react off the lower time frames, and we'll go from there. So that's it from you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, all the links in the pinned comment. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.